Nina? Hello, hello. Mic test, mic test. Okay na? Okay na? Mic test, mic test. Clear? Mic test, mic test. Ito pa yung pinakamalakas? Yeah, yeah. How this? Mic test. Once again, please settle down. We're about What? Once again, we are about to start. Uh, Please settle down. All right, guys, settle down. Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the luncheon meeting of Rotary Club of Makati. I'm Anton Cabrera, your moderator for today. So, guys, to officially start, may I please call on President Bing Matoto to call the meeting on order.
Call the meeting to order now. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bing. Now, may I call on past President David Ackerman to deliver the invocation.
May I ask everyone to please rise? Okay, we're all settled. Dear fellow Rotarians, esteemed guests, and the fabulous ambassador of the United Kingdom, Her Excellency Laure Beaufils, as we gather here today for our club meeting / luncheon / ladies' day, let us take a moment to reflect on the power of community and connection. In a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, it is moments like these that remind us of the strength we find in coming together. Let us give thanks to the opportunity to share a meal, to engage in meaningful conversations, and to support one another in our shared mission of service. May our time together be filled with laughter, inspiration, and a sense of camaraderie that lifts our spirits and renews our dedication to making a difference in the world. As we prepare to hear from our distinguished guest, Ambassador Beaufils, let us open our hearts and minds to the wisdom and insights she will share with us. May her words spark new ideas, ignite our passion for service, and remind us of the importance of building bridges across borders and cultures. So let us bow our heads in gratitude for this opportunity to come together, to learn from one another, and to celebrate the bonds that unite us as Rotarians. May our time together be filled with joy, purpose, and the sense of shared mission that propels us forward in our effort to create a better world for all. Let this meeting, luncheon, Ladies' Day, be the most prosperous and the most productive it can be. Amen.
Thank you, past President David. May I request everyone to put their right hand on their chest for the Philippine national anthem, be followed by the RC Makati hymn.
Witness a history in our lifetime as we bring back to life what a true Rotarian should be. Service above self, unity in diversity, and inclusivity, all for one and one for all. This is our chance. This is our time to rise up and be the example of what humanity can achieve. Together, let's create hope in the world. So let us sing with one voice the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
And together we stand tall. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four great tests, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. With the Rotary Club of Makati, prepared to aid our fellow men. As true Rotarians we live to lead. We believe in service above self, and this is why we succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. Always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may please sit down. For all Rotarians, and so that we may commit to the four-way test to mind and heart, may I request all Rotarians to repeat after me. Again, for the four-way test to mind and heart, may I request all Rotarians to repeat after me. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better relationships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? There we have it. And now, we would like to acknowledge all visiting Rotarians and guests present today. Let me start with the dignitaries. Past Dignitary Tony Kila. Past Jimmy Pura. And past dignitary Peps Bengzon. All right. Now, let me welcome all the Anns here. Tess Asioche. Ann Espinal. Tesha Garcia. Rachel Harrison. Lou Limhoka through Zoom. Kathy Liu. Melly Parungao. Mitzi Parungao. We have Kat Rufini here. Jeanette Rufino. Terry Tambunting. Menchu Tao. Amy Villetuya. Mary Segura. And Camille Makasa Siar. And now let me welcome the guests of Rotary Club of Makati. We got Jean Goulburn of Natasha Goulburn Foundation, Inc. Rene Arambulo. We have President-elect Kathy Ronquillo from RC Makati Global. Rotarian Steve Marukot from RC Makati Global as well. And to my guests here, Aaron Virata Mempin. Another guest of mine, Diane Moreno Mempin. We got Roy Moss, guest of past Executive Keith Harrison. Catherine Jose from Daily Tribune. Teddy Montalibano from Daily Tribune. RC Tambunting, daughter of past President Sonny. Gabriel Dampunting, grandson of past President Sonny. And Francis Lim. And now, may I invite all Makati Rotarians to please stand as we greet our distinguished guests with our welcome song. Who will sing? Who will be singing?
First past President Louis. That a friend say are glad you're here. So back home, God's clean, all the fans, the fellows here. And when we're our door, come against our friends again.
Thank you again. All right. Thank you, everyone. Now it's I'm not sure if this is working properly, but anyway, now it's time to recognize birthday and wedding anniversary celebrators. So, for the birthdays of Rotarians, we got Philip Sullivan on March 1st, past President Fidel Alfonso 3rd of March, and past President Carlos Del Rosario, March 3rd. And now for the Rotary Anns, Trina Galvez, Feb 27, which is today. And wedding anniversary, Director Winston and Adit Uy, tomorrow, Feb 28. And so here we go again. To greet our celebrators, may I request our resident singers to lead us in singing our birthday and wedding anniversary. David, maybe you want to sing for us again. Come on, you have a good voice here. Mr. Louis.
Louis as Yoche. PP, Louis as Yoche. Can I have one more mic, please?
Who's gonna play the piano?
There you go.
Never mind, we don't have a piano.
So this is what? This is a cappella, no piano accompaniment. Okay.
Yeah, just a cappella. No,
Okay.
no piano.
Aaron, meron bang ano? Wala. Okay, we sing a cappella. This is your birthday, your wedding day. Let's celebrate this important day. We greet you deep in our hearts, dear. A happy birthday and happy wedding day.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, David. Thank you, Louis. Okay, so now, this time we are now opening the floor for any club functions and committee announcements. So whoever has an announcement, please approach the mic. No announcements? Oh, someone give the mic. Anyway.
Could I have your attention, please? We are hosting a big Barrio Fiesta. For those of you that have been attending Eddie Yap's concerts, as you know, our beneficiary is the Sisters of Mary. So there's a Thanksgiving concert. It's going to be in Silang, Cavite, only 45 minutes from here. If you've thought you've seen all your Barrio Fiestas, Eddie Yap is designing this Barrio Fiesta so that you will always remember this. So we have about 1,000 people performing in costume. So please join us in Silang, Cavite. You are supporting this cause because you're giving money. Every time you go to the concert of Eddie Yap, the money goes to the school. It's on, please take a look at that. It's there. It's March 16, 2024 at 9 a.m. Sorry, there's an 8 a.m. mass, but the Barrio Fiesta is at 9:30. So it's your choice if you want to be there for the whole program. There's food will be served also in the Barrio Fiesta. So please take a note, take a picture of that, and we'll give you more information. There's parking there for everyone. So Cesar, you want to say something?
Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to announce a medical mission for the free screening and breast and cervical cancer. This will be held at Parang Agono, February 29, Thursday, 9 a.m. Please join us on this medical mission.
Thank you. Who else?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to announce our annual recollection. This coming, would say March 14. And it's going to be on a Thursday at the RCM Clubhouse and our second floor lounge. It's going to, well, of course, our registration is going to be at 8:30, but it's going to start at 9 a.m. And of course, we'll have our lunch and 3 p.m. mass. And of course, it's going to be, our recollection master is going to be Father Larry Tan. So I hope I'll see you there at March 14, okay? Again, thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you. Who else has
Did
any
I?
announcements?
Ganon. Narinig pa? Wala. Nothing? Oh, bye. Oh, boy, I'm sorry.
Repeat it.
Um, okay, I guess we don't have. Oh, Tony, yeah. Okay, okay. All right. So today we have the honor to acknowledge. Okay, one more.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, so on Friday, we're going to have the second installment of the Hatch Project where we're going to invite an angel investor, Mr. Francis Simsim, to share about, the the mindset of an angel investor. So I hope you can attend. So it's 4 p.m. at the clubhouse, 4 to 6 p.m. And 6 p.m. onwards is our Friday night light. So hope to see you there, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hope you guys attend on Friday. And now, today we have the honor. I'm assuming no more announcements, but okay. Today we have the honor of acknowledging two members who made a generous contribution to the Rotary Foundation. Please join me in welcoming past dignitary Tony Kila to the stage to recognize this contribution.
My call on our two baby Rotarians who will be getting their first Paul Harris Fellow pins. My call on Martin Revita and Paulo Turno. And may I ask President Bing for the pinning. After this, we will have only 7 Paul Harris, baby Rotarians who are not yet Paul Harris Fellows. So may I appeal to the 7 to be Paul Harris Fellows so that we can go back to being 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. Thank you.
Thank you for your contributions. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, we will witness the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement between Rotary Club of Makati and Natasha Goldburn Foundation, Inc. May I call upon Ms. Jean Goldburn to sign on behalf of Natasha Goldburn Foundation, Inc. For Rotary Club of Makati, we have President Bing Matoto, who will sign the agreement. Witnessing this momentous occasion, you also have Director Neil Macasiar and Executive Director of Natasha Goldburn Foundation, Inc., Rene Arambulo. For everyone's information, the memorandum of agreement about to be signed pertains to the Super Heroes Facilitating Training Program. This initiative aims to enrich the participants' abilities and psychological well-being as individuals to equip them with the necessary knowledge and skills in helping their peers handle their emotional problems through the proper listening and communication skills. To identify colleagues and friends who are at risk of mental health issues, to express appropriately empathy, and to facilitate the development of more compassionate young adults, and use civic leaders towards an empowered and mentally healthy community. Our club will provide funding of up to 485K. May I request Ms. Jean Goldburn for a short message. Guys, please pay attention here.
I'll make it short. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey guys, can we just sort of pay attention to Ms. Jean Goldborn who'll say something? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Beaufils. I'm very, very excited today. It's been really a dream to be supported by a civic organization. And this is an organization I've admired for many years. We kick off our program, and all of you are invited to view it. We kick it off on March 9 at Gregorio del Pilar. We have 80 students and 20 teachers. We hope to have a zero suicide campus, which we achieved in Bicol University, 3 years zero suicide. Then on August 2021, we had 1. And then for 2.5 years, we have 0 again. And mental health being one of the leading cause now of death amongst the youth. The deaths are starting at the age of 10 years old, self-harm, and ending one's life. It's a very tragic thing that's happening in this decade of our lives. Having turned senior and having lost a child at the age, in fact, today is the day she was interred. She was 27 years old, and that happened 21 years ago. But I decided not to be a victim of sadness. And with this, we're very proud to tell you, Iloilo is graduating also 2,200 teachers this March. And I'll be so happy to get back to you next year to give you a report and a data on what we collect from Gregorio del Pilar. And we will cascade it. So your presence will be there for maybe, hopefully, 10 years. And I'm looking also for young volunteers. I spotted 3 young ladies there in the table of Chinit. And there's this lovely girl. I spotted her because currently we wish to be able to put how to be happy for the youth online, and I need a pretty face like her. So if you can give me your children, grandchildren, I want to adopt them. So let's all have a 3 generation of really sustained project, because I want to be here forever, but I don't know for how long. And we need the 28 years old. We need your children, your grandchildren to be part of. I'm very grateful to President Bing Matoto. President Bing, I don't know how you made my dream come true. And very grateful to all of you. Please, let's never stop taking care of our youth and the babies, your grandchildren. Thank you very, very much. I'm happy to serve the Rotary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jean, for your short message. Okay, so now at the stage in this program, let's hear from our president for his report.
Good afternoon, folks. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, Jeannie, for sharing with us your wonderful advocacy, and we're awfully glad to be able to be part of it. I'm delighted to share with you the wonderful progress we have made in our recent initiatives. Last February 16, we launched a school-based complementary feeding program in Calatagan, benefiting 196 children. These children will receive milk for 120 days to help them regain normal weight. As you know, one of the biggest problems of our country right now is health, mental stunting on the part of the small kids. Additionally, we distributed toy gifts, storybooks, crayons, and coloring books from the Last Angel Project. I extend my heartfelt thanks to PP Freddy and Jojo Borromeo for their unwavering support of this program, as well as to II Galvez for joining us in Calatagan. Special thanks as well to IPP Michael and Papat Escaler for reserving gifts for these young children. As Director Bo announced, our Hatches program second session is scheduled for Friday, March 1 at 4 p.m. this Friday at the RCM Clubhouse. Following last month's Meet the Startups, we recognize the need for our members to understand the startup ecosystem, particularly in evaluating and investing in startups. Thank you to Roger Colliantes for organizing this meeting and inviting Mr. Francis Ryan Simisim as a resource speaker to share his insights. Special thanks to Director Bom Villatuya for overseeing this event. After this session, we will have our Friday night lights to celebrate the birthdays of our members born in February and March. We hope to see you all in this twin activities. Needless to say, of course, the aunts are invited. Looking at Rachel here now. As we prepare for our 58th Charter Anniversary and the Pila Awards night on March 15, 2024 at the main ballroom of the Manila Polo Club, we have invited our sister clubs to celebrate with us. We have received confirmation from RC Taoyuan, who is sending a delegation of 17 members, and RC Hyeyang Seoul, our new sister club, with 10 members. They will arrive a few days before the event, and we have scheduled activities for them, including golf and a visit to Villa Escudero, and I'm sure some shopping with the aunts. I'd like to really enjoin our members to please help us entertain and show our guests from Taiwan and from Korea what our hospitality is made of. We welcome members who would like to host them for dinner or lunch, play golf, as I said, and visit, or simply just come to the airport to welcome them, to provide them with our hospitality that we are known for. If you wish to volunteer, please contact our Chief of Staff, Ron, for the schedule. And of course, Kat Rufino, who's spearheading this welcoming committee. Right, Kat? Okay, great. Okay. Lastly, as the Philippines prepares to host the Rotary International Convention in 2028, the Philippine Rotary is already gearing up, especially regarding the budget, which is substantial. Some districts have mandated a support of 500 pesos per Rotarian, while our district has made it voluntary. During our last board meeting, however, we approved charging 500 pesos per member to support this once-in-a-lifetime Rotary event in the Philippines. This is going to be a very, very big event, and it's going to be great for our country. We'll have thousands of Rotarians who will be converging in the Philippines. Thank you again for your continued support and dedication to our Rotary Club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Bing. Now, may I call on President-elect Keith Harrison to introduce our guest speaker.
Good afternoon. It gives me huge pleasure today to introduce His Majesty's Ambassador to the Philippines. Her Excellency Laure Beaufils is a career diplomat And I would like to tell you a little bit about her history, her experience. Maybe not that's the right expression. From August 29, 2019, she was the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office Director in Jordan, Iraq, and Palestine. Before that, she was the Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria and Head of Mission to Lagos from February 2017. She was responsible for leading the British government's engagement with Nigeria on trade, climate, serious organized crime, and cultural issues, amongst many other things. Previously, she was head of the UK Department of International Development in Rwanda and Burundi from 2014 to 2017. In this capacity, she managed a large portfolio of economic programs delivering economic benefits of value of about $100 million into the governance and social sectors. Prior to holding these positions, she worked in various positions in the United Kingdom government. She was the lead strategic advisor working for the British Prime Minister in his role as co-chairman of the United Nations Secretary General's high-level plan on the post-2015 development agenda. She ran the department for the International Development Department for Overseas Territories. She led teams working on climate change strategy, adaptation, and forestry. She worked for the UK mission to the United Nations as first secretary responsible for development. Prior to joining the UK civil service, she worked with the UN and civil society organizations. She also worked in the private sector as a financial auditor. She's lived and worked in Rwanda, Ethiopia, Nigeria, India, Colombia, Jordan, France, UK, USA, and Philippines. Smaller round of applause for Philippines. She has a Bachelor of Science in Economics and International Relations from the London School of Economics. She has an MSc from l'École supérieure des sciences économiques et sociales in Paris, and she has an MA from in Gender and Development from the University of Sussex in the United Kingdom. Please welcome me, join me in welcoming Her Excellency Laure Beaufils, who will speak to us today. Yes, just make sure you shout and they will hear.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Keith, for those lovely words of introductions. Thank you, President Bing. Thank you, previous President Dave. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, all of you, for making the time to be with me this afternoon. I'm going to make this, if it's okay, because there's my voice coming out of this, and it's, oh, can I move this? It's a bit unsettling. Is that all right? Thank you. So, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. It's a great pleasure for me to be. Try again. Perfect. I've always been a very big fan of the Rotary's focus on service. And I say that because I consider myself not just a diplomat, but first and foremost, a public servant. And the notion of service is something that's very, very close to my heart. So thank you for welcoming me amongst you. And thank you for all the work that you do in servicing the vulnerable communities and those around us that need that special support. What I hadn't expected from joining you this afternoon, to be honest, is quite how musical this particular Rotary Club is. I must say I absolutely love that. It is one of the features of the Philippines that I love most, this love of music and performance arts, but also this general geniality and love of life, which comes across so clearly from this club. So congratulations. I think it's a huge testament to the culture that you've created here. Now, sadly, Sadly, my intention this afternoon is somewhat less fun. What I had intended to do, I think I'm okay for now, is speak to you a little bit about more hard edge foreign policy related issues, a little bit of a state of where we are in foreign policy and geopolitics in 2024, and a little bit of a sense of so what are we doing about it in the UK in general, and in this region. I think I might actually have gotten a bit ahead of myself in thinking about today and written a very, very long speech, so I might have to actually cut down on what I had to say. But forgive me, and do give me a little bit sense of a wave if I'm boring you or start snoring. I'll try to understand the message. So I'll start with two observations, if I may, for as we enter 2024. The first one is an observation about the extraordinary pace at which we have seen geopolitical change over the last 2 years and how much that's impacted us all across the whole world. We've seen, obviously, in just 2 years, Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, weaponization of energy and food supplies, irresponsible nuclear rhetoric, China's more aggressive stance in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait, destabilization in the Middle East, as well as long-standing threats from terrorism, serious and organized crime, new or different transnational challenges such as large-scale migration, smuggling of people, narcotics and weapons, illicit finance. All of these have become more acute with grave human costs and strains on all of our national resources. And the second observation here, which is related to the first, is that all of our long-held assumptions about the global order are fundamentally contested as we enter into 2024. So this year, we are seeing much more multipolarity characterized by geopolitical and economic fragmentation. And what we are also seeing is that much of the world is actually seeing this fragmentation as an opportunity to seek new forms of advantage. So volatility, fragmentation, competition, I think these are going to be key words for us to all be aware of. In that context, I'd like to highlight 6 key trends or dynamics, depending on how you want to look at them, that we as the UK have identified for 2024. The first is that sadly, military conflict is once again being seen as a legitimate tool of state power. And we hadn't seen that in this way for decades, quite frankly. So again, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has fundamentally reshaped our global security relations. This and the wider and long-term repercussions of the war in Gaza, which we are yet to know fully, but also conflicts in the Caucasus and the Africa's arc of instability. Across all of these, we're seeing military action by state as well as non-state actors that is an increasingly normalized tool of geopolitical competition, with the intention fundamentally to challenge established structures of power. This has obviously got implications for humanitarian need, displacement, development, sovereignty, international law, all of these fundamental things that are at the heart of how we see ourselves. And this conflict and hard-edge security now affects our choices in a way that we hadn't foreseen 2 years ago. The second dynamic is around international economic choices that much more than a few years ago are now also a national security issue. The overlap between economics and security has become much stronger over the last year or so. This has benefits for states' resilience when we think about energy security, for example, but it also has costs for global growth. And the global economy is transitioning to a much lower long-term growth pathway, as we know, although you guys are incredibly lucky with the 6% growth projection. I'm not going to tell you how jealous I am about that. But we're also seeing a lot more countries move to more protectionist policies. And these shifts have the potential to lock in inequalities between countries and also to increase risks of debt distress that we are seeing in many parts of the world. third trend is around development. I used to work in development for a very long time, and we're seeing development being more and more politicized. The human development indicators in the world that are captured under the Sustainable Development Goals, sadly, they're moving in the wrong direction. We're seeing deepening extreme poverty in some parts of sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. We're seeing much more acute humanitarian needs than we were before. But we're seeing that all this development focus, the social development goals, they're being captured through by geopolitical interest. And that while there are quite a lot of solutions that have emerged, they risk being increasingly politicized and competitive rather than cooperative. Fourth, a step change in climate emergency is underway. You are well placed in the Philippines to know about this. We're expecting to see more extreme weather events. Average temperatures could reach 1.5 degrees above industrial levels just this year, in part because of El Nino. So the risks are there. We know them well. And while there has been progress at COP28, including on transitioning away from fossil fuels, the geopolitics will continue to be challenging, in particular on climate finance. Driving the way forward on greater mitigation is essential, but not evident. Fifth, technology. It's going to shape every political event and issue this year, from elections to transnational challenges. And we risk systematically underestimating both the risks and the opportunities related to technology. The opportunities are huge. You know them: innovations in health, education, social protection, which could unlock progress on social development and bridge the digital divide. AI productivity gains will become visible alongside breakthroughs in quantum, possibly, and in biotechnology. But we know that AI-generated propaganda and deepfakes will interfere with elections this year. There's no doubt about that. They will threaten democratic processes from the US to emerging economies. And indeed, the demand for the materials required for new technologies, including semiconductors, is already reshaping economic relationships and geopolitical influence. The sixth and final trend, which I'd like to mention, is perhaps more true in the UK than it is here, but it's certainly true in many developed countries, if not all, and it is migration. Migration will remain or perhaps the primary political lens in most developed countries, with public discourse around migration evolving quickly through electoral cycles and international policy needing to keep up with this. So, a difficult time, but on top of all of this, we'll have the unprecedented series of elections taking place in 2024. Nations totaling 4 billion people are sending their citizens to the polls, which is quite extraordinary. Obviously, the most significant one is towards the end of the year. I shouldn't say this, but the one that we're all thinking about is towards the end of the year. And the potential for significant political change in the US in 2025 will drive a lot of international decision-making over the course of this year, and indeed over the course of the 6 trends I was talking about. But these elections will complicate matters internationally because a lot of political leaders are going to be domestically focused for large periods of the year as they prepare for elections. So the question is, so what? What does this mean for us? And we in the UK developed led a process that we call the integrated review process over the last few years that brought together all of our foreign policy, defense policy, security policy, humanitarian development policy, into what the Prime Minister called a once-in-a-generation complete integrated review of our external policy. And when we did that, we came to one conclusion, and that is, in this more volatile and contested world, unless democracies like our own and your own do more to build our resilience and to out-cooperate those that are driving instability, the global security situation is likely to deteriorate further to the detriment of states and people. The winners in the emerging international order will be those who can successfully navigate the more dynamic alliances and more rapidly evolving institutions. This is not a new Cold War of two competing blocs, but a new and a more complex way of working on international issues with opportunities to reshape the system. As the UK, we see four priorities. First, we must shape the global strategic environment, working with like-minded partners, of which, of course, the Philippines is a key one. And also working with those that we do not necessarily always agree with, those who do not necessarily share our values and our perspectives. That involves the security and the prosperity of the Euro-Atlantic, but also as the UK, our wider neighborhood, and of course, a free and open Indo-Pacific. As the UK, we will deepen relationships, support sustainable development and poverty alleviation, tackle shared challenges, including climate change, and work with partners to reform international financial institutions and other multilaterals, which are inherently at the heart of the rules-based international system as we know it, and which I believe constitute the scaffolding for how we come together as a world that works together. Second priority, as threats and volatility increase, we recognize the growing importance of deterrence and defense to keep the British people safe in our case, but also our alliances strong. Our immediate priority, you know it, has been supporting the self-defense and restoration of sovereignty and territorial integrity in Ukraine. We are doing this because Ukraine's security is important, but also because Ukraine's security is all of our security. Russia's invasion is an assault on the UN Charter, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the rule of law. And these are the fundamental values that we share. This geopolitical moment not only requires us to act now, but to plan for the long term. As a result, the UK is investing £5 billion of additional funding in defense over 2 years, focusing on the priority areas of nuclear resilience and conventional stockpiles. We had a commitment to spend 2% of GDP on defense. We've now shifted that baseline to spending at least 2.5% of GDP on defense. This will maintain our leadership position in NATO, continue the modernization of our armed forces, but it will also allow us to invest in new stages of AUKUS. AUKUS, as you may know, is the UK, US, Australia partnership supporting nuclear-powered submarines to work in this region. I say nuclear-powered submarines, very important. They're obviously not nuclear submarines. And the GCAP program, which is a program between Italy, Japan, and ourselves, also focusing on this region. Third priority, the stability and resilience of our economy is a precondition of our security. So we also need to address vulnerabilities that have been exposed in the UK and many countries by the events of the last 2 years. I mean, economic vulnerabilities. We want to preserve the huge benefits that stem from being an open economy, but we need to ensure that we are protected from the worst effects of global disruption, transnational challenges, or hostile interference. That means improving our economic, health, and energy security with practical steps such as the implementation of our National Security Investment Act, which is an investment screening tool that we legislated about a year ago. And we've shared experience about that with the Philippines. This is intended to prevent high-risk investment in critical infrastructure and sensitive technologies. Working with a lot of others over the last couple of years, we've also developed many other economic tools as part of economic statecraft, which is really quite critical in 2024. And fourth, as the UK, fourth and final priority, we will invest in our unique strength. We are a big economy But our strength comes not just through size, but specialization. Science and technology is vital for our future. Thank you very much. Science and technology are vital to our future. We want to continue to be leaders in science and tech in general, innovation, artificial and intelligence, and cyber in particular. We will invest in these areas. My government has decided to commit to spend 20 billion pounds a year come this year on research and development. Now, what is the main lesson from the last 2 years? For us, it is not just the world is more dangerous place, but that when challenged, we must be, and we have shown to be, ready and able to respond, working quickly and effectively with our partners. As the global context evolves further, systemic competition continues to intensify and new challenges emerge. We must make sure that this remains the case by taking a lead where we can make the most difference and finding new ways to cooperate with others to maximize our collective impact. So finally, what does this mean here for the Indo-Pacific? And you may ask, why is the UK even so invested in the Indo-Pacific when we ourselves are not an Indo-Pacific power or country? The answer is evidenced through a series of statistics. At least 1.7 million British citizens live across this region. Our trading relationships are worth over $250 billion, and they are growing. In the decades to come, this region will be the crucible of solutions to many of the most pressing global challenges that we face, from climate and biodiversity to maritime security and geopolitical competition linked to our rules and norms. So this part of the world is hugely important for us. That is why one of the first things that we did when we left the European Union was to apply to be ASEAN Dialogue Partner. And in fact, we were successful in securing that 2 years ago. The UK recognizes the fundamental role of ASEAN and the centrality of ASEAN to the region, and indeed its essential contribution to peace, prosperity, and security. On the economic and trade side, the first thing we did when we left the EU was to apply to the CPTPP. Don't ask me what the acronym stands for. I can never get it right. But we see it as the gold standard of international trade deals. It will give the region access to the UK's world-class financial services sector and the world's 6th largest economy. We're hoping that the Philippines will consider joining the CPTPP as well. In the Philippines, we've worked really, really hard on the trade and investment relationship. We've launched a new scheme called DCTS, Developing Countries Trading Scheme, which, if you like, is similar to the EU's GSP+. It builds on it, but it adds additional product lines, it simplifies rules of origins, and it's intended to facilitate additional exports from the Philippines to the UK. As of this year, we're launching a new joint economic committee, which is a first step towards a full free trade agreement. It's going to be looking at specific sectors where we can also turbocharge our trade. And we are in the process of finalizing a legally binding G2G agreement between the government of the UK and the government of the Philippines to unlock £4 billion of export finance to support further infrastructure projects here in the Philippines. So we're definitely very active in the trade and investment side. And indeed, our bilateral trade has never been as high as it is now, and it is continuing to grow. I think a reflection of how much we're doing on both sides. Beyond the trade, we have a series of economic tools. We've given them a chapeau name, which is called British Investment Partnerships, which is looking at different forms of funding, some private sector finance, some development finance, and indeed some finance from capital markets that we're trying to blend with technical expertise and advice to support green infrastructures and the great pipeline of infrastructures here in this country. And we know we cannot talk about economic cooperation without also talking about climate. This is at the heart of our relationship across the Indo-Pacific, and definitely so here in the Philippines, where we have our largest suite of programs and initiatives around climate, environment, and biodiversity, and that will continue to be the case. And most recently, we were really proud to be able to support the government in developing its first ever national adaptation plan, in recognition of the fact that unless the government adapts to the unavoidable consequences of climate change, the cost to the economy will be huge. I believe, quoting a World Bank report from last year, that on a business as usual trajectory, the cost to the economy will be 13.6% per year by 2040 if we do not adapt. So we will play our part in that. But the second priority beyond economics in the Indo-Pacific is, of course, defense and security. I've spoken about AUKUS. We will continue to invest in that, but we're also doing a lot more bilaterally on defense and security. We've spoken out repeatedly about the importance of the rule of law, UNCLOS, in the South China Sea in particular. We now have a permanent defense attaché based here in the Philippines that's been here for a year. We have many more ship visits. We just had a ship from the UK here last week. We're doing many more exercises, many more training, and we will be going from strength to strength in that space. And third, but certainly not least, partnerships through our values. We've spoken about this before. Our commitment to sovereignty, territorial integrity, freedom, including freedom from economic coercions. Our shared beliefs in the value of democracy and open markets. This is an area of amazing opportunity with the Philippines. I've never worked in a country where we are most aligned and more like-minded across so many different issues. In fact, across all issues. Most people in my jobs, when they go to be an ambassador, they'll have to find ways to have difficult conversations with their host country on a few issues that are bilateral irritants, if you like. We have none with the Philippines, which means that my job as an ambassador is about finding opportunity, being creative, finding niche areas where we can work together as the UK and the Philippines to really make a difference, to shift the dial in a way that is quantifiable and have real life impact for the people of the Philippines and the people of the UK. I feel very privileged as an ambassador that we do share our values, and that's incredibly important across all the work that we do. And that's why it's also very important for me to go out and to speak to so many different types of people across the country, to talk about our values, to talk about all that we have in common, and to demonstrate that we as the UK, perhaps less well known in the Philippines than the US, I should say, definitely less well known in the UK, in the Philippines than the US, that we are still relevant, modern, engaging, and that we are here to stay as long-term partners and friends of the Philippines. I think I'll leave it at that. I've got a lot more to say, but I'm going to bore you, and perhaps it would be more interesting to take questions at this time. Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Laure. All right. So we're now going to open the forum. However, we only have 6 minutes for this forum because our guest of honor will have to leave soon. All right. So let's call in for Mr. Charlie.
Can I get a view, Excellency, about Ukraine? Because, you know, we're very much surprised and affected by Ukraine, whether it's fertilizer, power. Is there going to be an end to this?
Well, I sadly, Charlie, I can't tell you when there will be an end to this. Will be. In truth, we don't expect to see any short-term resolution. What we do think is that it's absolutely fundamental that Russia does not get away with this because of all the issues I set out, because this is important for all of us in terms of our fundamental way of looking at the world. It's about the UN Charter. It's about sovereignty. if it starts being okay to let countries invade other countries and stand by idly, then all bets are off. So we are determined to show our resolve. And on that, I'd like to say that we've been incredibly appreciative of the position of the government of the Philippines. It's been really principled. This is another area where I think we're really like-minded in condemning Russia at the General Assembly when there have been UN votes. And you may have seen that this weekend was the 2-year sad anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And the Department of Foreign Affairs here also issued a powerful statement in favor of those values of international law and non-interference and non-aggression.
Okay, next question. Fred, Mr. Fred.
Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for that very good speech. My question is this. As I'm sure all of us are aware, one of the candidates for the US presidential election has said that if he wins the election, he will get the US to withdraw from NATO. Assuming he wins the election and the US actually withdraws from NATO, what will be the role of Great Britain in the world political and economic situation, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region? Thank you.
NATO is fundamental to security of the Euro-Atlantic. More than ever over the last 2 years, it's demonstrated its value, its role, and its impact. We're seeing more and more countries wanting to join NATO and seeing the value thereof. Countries that are members of NATO have increased their contribution to NATO. We are increasing our contribution to NATO. As I said, we're going from 2% of GDP to 2.5% of GDP of defense spend, which is huge amounts. We've never expected to get to that much. So we will continue to play our part. If need be, we might even do more. Obviously, from our perspective, it would be a very bad outcome if the US were to pull out of NATO. I think one shouldn't necessarily read too much into comments that have been made by the candidate you're talking about, because that's not a definitive, manifesto commitment. But it is a risk. And with that election come quite a lot of risks, as I think you know. So a lot of us are doing scenario planning and thinking about contingencies. But one thing is for sure, our positions on Euro-Atlantic security and Indo-Pacific and indeed the Middle East will not change.
All right, thank you. We got.
And I should just say very quickly, I've spoken about our integrated review, what the Prime Minister called a once-in-a-generation review. The beauty of that document is it was also cross-party. So we are going to have elections in the UK this year. We don't know when. It is the Prime Minister's prerogative to decide when the elections will be. But even when we have an election, and should there be a change in government and political party, which is a possibility, the fundamental direction of our foreign policy is set through that cross-party buy-in to this integrated review. So again, long-term commitment, steadiness. The message we want to convey is also predictability, steadiness, and no surprises from the UK in terms of where we stand.
Okay, Charlie. I'm sorry, Carlos, your turn.
Hi, Ambassador. Good afternoon. Son of Charlie, Carlo Rufino. Just wanted to ask, my son recently graduated from the UK for undergrad, and he was trying to find a job. Of course, there's a lot of disruption with the Brexit. Do you feel that the job market is returning back to normal? And how are you going to make up the labor shortage that seems to be coming in? Now you're losing jobs. You're also having a hard time importing some job areas. I saw nursing was a big issue with the hospitals at the time I was there. We have a lot of nurses here. I'm wondering, are you looking into that? Maybe the Philippines can once again support the manpower shortage and certain aspects of the labor market.
Thank you. So the labor market is changing everywhere, right? It's not just a UK phenomenon driven by technology and AI. And we, we are a service economy. I've mentioned AI, I've mentioned cyber, I've mentioned other forms of technology, including quantum and biotechnology. All of this means that the labor market is always shifting. So that's the norm, changes the norm, if you like. In terms of basic services, yes, we have had challenges, let's face it, in particular in healthcare. We currently have 35,000 Filipino healthcare workers in the Philippines. We are so grateful to them for their malasakit. King Charles has repeatedly thanked them. Recently, you may have seen that the Princess of Wales was in hospital. Her husband, the Prince of Wales, noted that she was looked after by a Filipino nurse. It's constant, the appreciation we have for Filipino nurses. I do want to say one point on that, though, because there have been discussions and questions around, whether we are poaching healthcare workers. My sense is that that is not the case, in part because there are many thousands of healthcare workers in the Philippines that are leaving the profession to go to other professions in the Philippines. So there is a domestic challenge in terms of retention and reward here. But we as the UK want to lean in and do more in health to support universal healthcare. So we have strong, this is perhaps also about values and people-to-people relationships and bridges. We're doing a lot of exchanges between the UK National Health Service and the Philippines to learn lessons and support the journey that the Philippines is on. The NHS is 75 years old this year. It's the oldest system in the world that is providing universal healthcare, and will continue to do more, recognizing that we go into these conversations with humility as well. Our systems are not perfect. We have had challenges. We're currently facing challenges, in our hospitals. So we want to learn from you, and we want to also share what lessons we've learned on the way.
Thank you.
All right, next question from past President David.
Excellency, a not so challenging question, but nevertheless, it's important. What efforts are being made to strengthen cultural and educational ties between both our countries?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because just last night I held a dinner at my residence with representatives from DILG, the Department of Tourism, Department of Trade and Industry, and cultural centers of the Philippines, to talk about culture and to talk about cities of culture and to talk about opportunities to strengthen cultural relationships. So that is something that the British Council is spearheading. And we have a lot of initiatives in the UK that we are sharing here and hoping to also ensure could come alive here in the Philippines. On the education side, so many things are happening. It's a really exciting space. We have a scholarship called the Chiefening Scholarship, which I think is the best of its kind. Call me biased. I say that because it's full tuition, but also full stipend. It's very generous and enables students to study the master's degree of their choice in the university of their choice. We send about 30 to 35 Filipinos to study that every year. But we've also got scholarships and PhDs and masters and a bunch of other areas. Many of them are science related because we have particular strengths and expertise and because we want to strengthen that bridge. But beyond that, we are doing a lot, again, through the British Council on transnational education, so that kids that cannot go and study in the UK can nonetheless get a British qualification in parallel to a Filipino qualification when they do a course here in the Philippines with a partnership with a British university. So you might go and study at De La Salle, for example, and do a master's in architecture and get a degree from De La Salle and Leicester University at the same time through this transnational education schemes. And we're developing more and more of those, which I think is very attractive and also very inclusive, because not everyone can afford to go and study abroad.
Excellency, just one quick follow-up. All the love and camaraderie between our nations, but when is our direct flights gonna be coming?
Well, the person you need to speak to, of course, is Captain Stanley of PAL, to lobby him. He's great, and of course I have been speaking to him about this. We would love to get direct flights back. Thus far, there are no direct flights between the Philippines and Europe, apart from Turkey. And so, you know, quite frankly, we know that would support business. It would support all kinds of people-to-people links. So we're really, really keen to make that happen. So watch this space, and please do lobby Captain Stanley to make sure that flight goes to London and not other EU countries.
All right. Second to the last question.
All right, the questions are the most fun part. I'm so sorry, I've got to go in a minute. Maybe we can take just 3 in one round and I answer all 3 in one time. Is that okay, Anton?
You guys have to coordinate with each other. Which one first?
Hello, Your Excellency. I would like to say congratulations to UK. You give the most wonderful research and talks at the IASP International Conference. I represent the country, the Philippines, International Association of Suicide Prevention. I would love to hook up with you, please, because we have scholarship grants for doctoral of psychology. But what I admire in UK is that you look at the different ways of treating mental health, not only through pharmaceutical. And for that, I would like to really work very strongly with you. I'm connected with 5 universities and 3 private schools. So we have 8 schools under our umbrella.
Thank you for the kind words. And yes, please, I'm going to give you my card just before I walk out.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your UK is fantastic. Thank you.
All right. One super quick question. Two. We got 2 questions left.
The moderator should decide who to give the mic to.
I'm sorry. He went first.
Excellency, the U.S. had monetized or had weaponized the U.S. dollar in order to punish Russia for invading Ukraine. There had been an adverse effect of this on the BRIC countries, including those now who had recently joined from the Middle East. And they are seriously considering an alternative currency to use for trade between themselves and others, as well as to hold as reserve currency instead of the US dollar. You know? So what is UK's position on this trend?
Okay, well, thank you. Great question. Hard one. So I'll think while I listen to the second question.
All right, Eddie?
Madam Ambassador, you know, I would like to express to you my pleasant amazement at the extent of engagement that your country has with the Philippines. I first heard about it during the reception for the birthday of His Majesty, and now you reaffirm all of the matters that you're involved in. If I may draw on your experience in Palestine, events there affect the Philippines, as you know, Middle East, Europe. What kind of administration or future in Gaza do you see based on what you know?
They're hard questions. Okay, I'll take the BRICS one first. And I'm not an expert on the issue of currency by any stretch of the imagination. What I will say on the BRICS, though, is obviously it's something we're watching closely. That grouping has some members of it that are intent on developing a narrative, which is that the West is trying to manipulate smaller countries, and that narrative has been used, for example, in Israel quite a lot, Israel and Gaza. So we're watching what happens in the BRICS closely. Our job fundamentally, as I hinted to in my remarks, is to get out there and make a compelling alternative case. Share our values, share what we stand for, and walk the talk. And I think we're very focused on that rather than, a tit for tat reaction to all of the initiatives that we might be seeing across the world. So we're focused on developing new partnerships, new alliances with non-traditional partners, thinking creatively about, on this issue of currency, which I'm less familiar with. Nonetheless, how do we support countries in their trade? How do we help countries to, perhaps move up the supply chain, which is a conversation we're having here in the Philippines, for example, on extractives, right? So we think that proactive approach where we think about, okay, what are the tools in the economic toolbox to help us support our partners, help us be a force for good and contribute to increased trade, contributes to poverty eradication, contributes to social development. That positive sorry. What I'm trying to say is that we want to focus on having a positive story to tell with positive initiatives that lead to real life result, which then negate the need for any of these real challenges to the way things are done in the rules-based international system. On the question of Gaza, we absolutely still believe in the two-state solution. So our perspective is very clear. First of all, that Israel has the right to self-defense and that the 7th of October attacks were horrendous, brutal and unacceptable, and that indeed Hamas is still holding some 170 people, if not more, as hostages and human shields, and that is not acceptable. So we cannot let Hamas, a terrorist organization that has been brutal in the most horrendous fashion, including with women and children, we can't let them continue to rule Gaza. So the conversation is very much around what sort of leadership can be seen, not just in Gaza, but across all the Palestinian territories. And that includes the West Bank as well. And those are the conversations that are being had right now. In parallel to our positions on Hamas, we are also condemning the violence of settlers in some of these occupied territories, imposing sanctions, and being really, really clear that we, again, are on the side of international law. But there has got to be a two-state solution. Otherwise, this horrendous war that we're seeing will not stop, or we will see it again in a few years, which is basically what's happened in the Middle East. Although it's had different manifestations at different times, it's because the fundamental issue hasn't been solved and because the Oslo Accords haven't been implemented that we find ourselves here.
So before we close the forum, maybe have a quick photo op. Oh, sorry. Let me have President Big Matota speak. Thank you very much again, Ambassador, for your briefing us on the views of the British government towards our country. And we're very pleased and happy that, in fact, the kind of support that you've explained to us really is far beyond what we would really frankly expect. But then, considering that we're sort of closer traditionally with the US, but having you as well as obviously are almost like the second country there who could potentially stand behind us should anything on the geopolitical front happen. God willing, it shouldn't. But in any event, thank you so much for the kind of assurances of support for our country. And with that, we'd like to present you a small token of our appreciation of you being able to join us this afternoon. First, I'd like to share with you this certificate of appreciation, Ambassador. If you may notice, there's that plaque there. That is going to be attached to a reef that's going to go down. That is, it goes to a coral reef that will essentially try to revitalize the coral reefs that have been degenerated. That's such a wonderful. Okay, and then here, we don't mean to bore you, but it's a coffee book on our 55 years. Actually, we're going 58 years already. And finally, let you enjoy it as you're going through this. Thank you again very much. Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Before we do that, then I'd like to adjourn the meeting already. Huh? Up to order. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, before we leave, we have a raffle here. A raffle. We'll have an electronic raffle, an air fryer. All right. Ants, please, after us, please come forward to take a photo with us. All right, ladies, please come in front. Step right up. All right. We also have the, well, it's still spinning. Well, oh, sorry, it's not spinning yet. So, sino nagpipindot? Pindot naman, ngayon lang. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, unfortunately, my 5 minutes became 15 minutes. Okay, so time for the raffle. Let's spin it up. Who do you have? I can't see you. Eddie Galvez. Oh, he already left. So that's unfortunate. So let's have another spin. One more. Oh, that's so close. Could have been me. Who's that? Who's that? Martin Rivera. Oh, okay, Martin. Congratulations. You win an air fryer. What kind of bed? This one. How much? Oh. Ah. Actually, I haven't seen them. Don't forget to claim your air fryer. All right. Thank you, guys. Hope to see you soon next time. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry.
Right here, ma'am. Photo. Okay. One, two, three. Okay.